Hey everybody, and welcome to the Stash Project Stash Report for August 6, 2014. It's Wednesday. You notice we're not doing our CSI Miami intro this week because the cliche of me going, well, there's not a lot to talk about, and then me talking for 30 minutes this week. Trust me, guys, there's not a lot to talk about. It was a quiet beginning of August here. They've announced 4 new kits, or 4 reruns of kits, actually, from Bell Kits, who you may or may not have heard of. They're out of Belgium, as well as there being the 2 of the original F1 GTR short tail kits from Fujimi that came out on the 2nd of August. They came out a few days earlier than we thought they would. But the only other sort of pre-release, and we talked about this briefly, it was either last week or in the August release video, Studio 27 has officially released the pre-orders for the McLaren short tail for these GTR short tail kits we're going to talk about here in a couple of minutes, as well as they did or doing because technically they haven't come out yet, a carbon fiber sheet for the McLaren MP4-12C, the fax machine, as they call it on Top Gear. That McLaren Fujimi also did a kit of it. If you want to get those carbon fiber kits, you better pre-order them ahead of time. It has become a pattern with the Studio 27 kits that the pre-order slots sell out very quickly at both HobbyLink Japan and Hobby Search, and sometimes they don't get a restock. Sometimes you have to wait until Studio 27 reissues them months down the line. The Enzo decals they did for the Street Enzo, I chased those down for the better part of 6 months before they finally did another rerun of them here recently, and I managed to pick them up actually out of Hong Kong, of all places. But so none of those are out there. There's also going to be some actual racing livery decals for the MP4-12C if you want to do something other than the standardized sort of McLaren factory color decals that they've been doing in those Fujimi kits. Also, remember, if you're into not so much Fujimi racing kits, but just racing kits in general, they also did a set of carbon fiber for the BMW Z4 kit. And you may recall that there is going to be some spot runs of that Z4 kit done in the garish pain decals for the 2014 sort of sponsored Z4s from the Fiji race and the very beginning of the season presentation package version. There are also several, there's like a 2011, 2012, and 2013 Z4 kits that exist. There's not very much difference between them. The wheels are different. There's a couple little pieces here and there that are different between all of the Z4 kits, as well as the McLaren MP4 kits. There are several wheel and little differences between the 2012 and 2013, and then there's a couple of 2013 like race-specific kits that they put out. It all depends on what you want to do. Most of the 2013 kits have all of the 2012 parts in them already. If you buy a lot of Asian kits or bought any Asian kits, you may notice that their instructions will say something like optional parts or not for use. Those are usually parts from a previous version, which is what you're going to get out of those. So if you can't decide what you want to build specifically, buy the newest version, and it'll usually have the old parts in it. So as far as the 4 kits that I mentioned being rerun from Bell Kits is a new sort of startup company out of Belgium. And they were mostly like a internet retailer. If you go to their website, you can buy like airbrushes and compressors and all that kind of stuff, and then 4 modern rally kits. They did a rally kit of a Peugeot, let's see, 207 S2000, a Ford Focus S2000, a Ford Focus RS WRC car, and a Skoda Fabia S2000 Evo. All 4 of those kits came out in the last couple of years. They started making them in 2011. They've been out of production for a little while. They're kind of hard to get a hold of because the production run was kind of short. They tend to run somewhere in the $40 to $50 range because these are sort of niche kits, and they're low volume niche. So you're going to pay a little bit more than you would for, say, like a 50,000 kit produced Revell kit from 1990 that those cost $7. This is not where we're at with these. These are very specific kits. All of them except the WRC Ford Fiesta give you options to build at least 2 different driver variations. There, of course, would be a driver and a navigator in Rally, and you have the option to build one of 2 different sets of the team car. They represent from newest to oldest. They are oldest to newest rather. The Peugeots of 2009 and the Skodas of 2012, and they fill gaps in there: 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. As far as Peugeot, Ford, and then the Skoda, they also make gravel trans kits for these directly. They are not resin. Most people hear trans kit and they think resin. It's plastic, injection molded parts, but the cars themselves are set up as tarmac cars for racing on pavement. They make a gravel suspension trans kit for both the Skoda and the Ford Fiestas. There is not one for the Peugeot as of yet, and there may never be one since the Peugeot is the oldest one. But it gives you the option. If you're really into your rally car, you can go and spend an extra $15-20 and get that extra suspension for it. All of them can be set up for night racing with the parts in it. They tend to get reviewed online as being Tamiya-like quality. Somewhat ironic because if you look at the instructions, they have Tamiya paint callouts. Tamiya has nothing to do with these kits. But I get very hesitant whenever I hear somebody say something of a Tamiya-like quality because chances are that person has never built a Tamiya kit. If you see online somebody say, well, this kit builds like a Tamiya kit and it has anything with an American manufacturer's name attached to it, they're lying. Because they've never built a Tamiya kit, or not very many of them. And the last one they saw was 20 years old, and it was something that somebody brought to a contest or a kit, and they saw it, and they were like, oh, that looks nice. Because people who don't build Tamiya kits don't build them mostly because of the subject matter and the price. I get the subject matter thing. Not everybody wants to build a Ferrari Enzo or a LaFerrari or a Porsche, Carrera GT or something like that. But the price thing is negligible. I saw somebody here online just a day and a half ago complaining that the LaFerrari from Tamiya is too expensive and you should buy the Revella Germany one. We talked about this in the August release video. The Tamiya kit from Japan cost $40. The Revell of Germany box, and this is not the U.S. box one that's coming out at the end of August here, but the Revell of Germany box one, you have to import it from Europe. They aren't selling them in the United States. You have to import them. I think the guy was from Canada, so they may be importing them into Canada, but they aren't importing them into the United States. And the Revell Journey box then ends up costing more than $40 because the kit itself is like $30-something, and then you're going to pay $10-15 to ship it here from the UK being the cheapest place you can usually find them to ship them into the United States. And guess what? Now you're at the same price as the Tamiya one. And why are you going to buy a lesser quality, lesser part, lesser detailed kit just for the giggles of the fact that, well, in the United States, the hobby shop price on that's $92. Yes, I understand that, but it doesn't cost $92. You go to the car dealership and they want to charge you, X amount of dollars for the car because the window sticker says that much. You don't pay that much for that car, do you? No, you work the best deal you can. I support my local hobby shop, greatly. I have 3 of them, and I sort of spread my money around when I can, especially on, U.S. Releases. You see these guys are like, oh, yeah, I bought this kit online. They sit there and rattle to you about how kits cost too much in their local hobby shop, but then they don't even buy their domestic kits locally. They source them from Model Roundup or something like that. Without going off in a tangent, cost is not a factor because the costs are very similar. It's what you're comfortable building, and people aren't comfortable building Tamiya kits because they tend to be scared of them because they're too many parts, they're too well detailed, or they saw a Tamiya kit of something from the 80s that was formerly motorized, and they thought that paying $30-40 for it was too much. There was a point in time, guys, when a Tamiya kit or an Yoshima kit, Fujimi not so much because Fujimi's prices really haven't moved except for the Enthusiast series kits. Their kits were really expensive 15-20 years ago, but the price of U.S. kits has constantly come up, and the price of Japanese kits has more or less stayed even, and it's gotten to the point now where unless you're talking about those really high-end Tamiya kits like the LaFerrari, like the Enzo, like the FXX, the Carrera GT, the LFA, the DBS, any of those black box kits that, came with some photo etch in them or came with a lot of details in them, the price is going to be on par with the U.S. stuff. And so there's no excuse not to buy a Tamiya kit unless you don't like the subject matter. Fine, don't like the subject matter. But don't say something made by Mobius or Revell or, well, there's nothing made by AMT anymore because all they do is reissues. But don't say anything that's made by Revell or Mobius is Tamiya-like quality because it's not, okay? Mobius is 1990s Ertl quality because that's who's still making those kits. The guys from AMT Ertl, when it got bought up by Racing Champions, they floated around and they wound up landing at Mobius for their automotive stuff. those people that are responsible for those kits are responsible for kits 20 years ago, and they build nicely. I'm not saying that the Mobius kits, body, errors aside, don't build up nicely, but they also build up nicely like a 1990s AMT Ertl kit does. There's nothing wrong with that. I love 1990s AMT Ertl kits. I much prefer them over 1990s Revell kits 90% of the way. But, Revell has gotten their engineering stuff down nicely. Kits build well, but they're not Tamiya quality. There's nothing about the 1990 Revell Mustang LX that's Tamiya quality at all. Nothing about the CUDA that is. Certainly nothing about this Torino that's coming up this fall. Not a single bit of that is Tamiya quality. And I'm talking Tamiya quality now. I'm not talking 1980s masterpiece. Well, it was 1980s masterpiece, 1990s masterpiece, or anything in the last 15 years. All those kits get washed out. I'm talking about like a formerly motorized Tamiya kit, or a Tamiya kit, the Skylines that they made during the 1980s, which, not the GTRs, but the actual Skylines. Yeah, they're kind of rough around the edges, and none of them don't fit together particularly well, but neither does anything else that's 40 years old, frankly. If you think that a Johan kit is more exciting than anything that's being made right now by anybody, you're just delusional. And you're living in like some more rose-colored glasses. Oh, I'm going to be nostalgic about everything I do because I don't want to believe that I'm 60 years old. Hey, live your little weird little life, but it's not better. Wire axles through the oil pan are never going to be better than any curbside kit put out by Fujimi today. It's just not going to happen. Even even the street version of this McLaren, which is frankly a very uninspired kit compared to their Ferrari stuff that they do, is better than anything Johan ever put out, ever. Just is. Moving along to the Fujimi stuff, since the Bell kit stuff, December is when those 4 kits are going to come out. Bell kits also secured the licensing for Volkswagen and Red Bull to make the 2013 World Rally Car Champions car. This will be a VW Polo. I don't necessarily know that I would order any of these or all of these. I'm not that into rally that I'm like, ooh, these 4 kits have come back out. I must have them all. I like to get the Skoda one because, hey, be the only person on your block that has a Skoda kit. But rally in the general sense doesn't interest me enough to go off and branch off and spend $240 on all 4 of those kits, because they're going to be, like I said, about $40 a piece. But the Skoda one's kind of neat, just from the wow factor of having a Skoda. You're not going to get a Skoda kit anywhere else, if anything. The VW Polo, maybe, because again, there aren't that many Volkswagen kits out there. But moving on to the 2 new kits, they are the racing version of the Street McLaren. 2 of them came out on Friday, the 2nd, and they are the number 59 Tokyo Uno Clinic short tail and the number 24 Golf short tail. Buddy of mine got this one. He's really into that Golf logo. The more I look at it, the more I like it. The silver, gold, orange thing, or silver, gold, silver, dark blue, orange thing wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot for me at first, but it's sort of growing on me. There are 2 more versions of those kits coming out, a 49 West FM car and a number 6 BPR car. Now, what the BPR car is going to be sponsored as is interesting, because if you go look Google Images on the BPR kit, you see that the car is either blank white with some Golf logos on it, or it looks like a Marlboro red pack. And you're not going to get Marlboro decals in a model kit because, God forbid we offend the children and their delicate sensibilities. They build a car with cigarette logos on it, and they're going to start smoking, a carton a day. And, we have a bunch of concerned parents just so concerned about their children. I got 3 kids, and I'm concerned about my children, but I'm also not delusional in thinking that they build a Budweiser, Thunderbird, they're going to start drinking, a case of beer every day, or if they build a Marlboro McLaren, they're going to start smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Stop using your lack of parenting as an excuse to screw it over for everybody else. But, you go back in the 90s in NASCAR, that was when we lost the ability to put, at least from a mass market in the kit standpoint, that's when we lost the ability to have tobacco and alcohol sponsorship. The Oshima Lark car that's coming out in mid-September, I'm not going to have the Lark sponsored because that's a tobacco company, and that's evil, that's bad, we can't do it. Look, either kids are in this hobby or they're not, and if they're not, then I don't understand why I can't build a, Lark-sponsored McLaren. I don't understand why that's such a horrible thing. They're not going to buy it anyway. It's a $50 model kit. Anyway, aside from that, there is going to be, like I said, those 2 kits. I've looked at the parts runners out of the street car, which I actually have, and these racing kits. And it appears to me that 98% of these racing kits are brand new tooling. The only thing they seem to share are about 85% of the E runner, and that is all of the suspension parts. It has the same chassis plate as the street car, as well as it looks like the same inner fender wells, and most of the suspensions, the brakes, the brake calipers, which makes you wonder if they really would be the same or not. But I understand sort of cutting a couple of bucks out of the tooling that way. If you want to fix them, there are aftermarket versions of these brakes available from Studio 27 and Hobby Design and people like that. But other than those suspension parts and that chassis plate, it appears that everything else, the interior is new, the glass is new, there are obviously different wheels in the racing version than there are in the street version, and the whole body shell is completely new, which means new doors, new door skins on the inside, and everything else. So you're not buying a race decaled version of the street car. You are getting a legitimately different vehicle. So kudos to Fujimi, I guess. I don't build a lot of racing cars, so I don't know how excited I should be about this. The people I know that are really into F1 McLarens are sort of disappointed that, this kit wasn't done before this kit, and these people didn't do that kit, and so it's kind of hard to tell if they're excited about these things or they're just building them in silent misery. But, if you have this kit, if you have this, you know what you're getting out of the race kit because it's going to build the same way. I believe it actually has the same one-piece engine insert as well. That's also on the E-Runner. But, it's cool to have, I guess. I mean, I bought a long-shell GTR mainly because I wanted to do the presentation version. I'm really not into race cars, per se, and I kind of lean towards getting a short tail only because the carbon fiber exists for it, which I realize is probably a crappy reason to buy a model kit, but it's like, I really enjoy the Studio 27 carbon fiber. Decaling is my personal little thing. I know a lot of people don't enjoy decaling, but I do. So, consider what you want to do for your money. I think the McLaren short tails are running about $40 as well. So that about covers it, guys. There's going to be, I guess, 5 days here, 5 business days in Japan here, and then everybody in Japan is going on vacation for the summer. And we're also going to take that week off, too, just for the sake that there's not going to be anything to talk about. So we're not going to do a video at all. So we'll see you, I guess, the Wednesday after next. And we should have something to actually talk about then because there will be more information out. Some of the spot runs we're expecting for August will be out, as well as we may start seeing the very beginnings of at least Aoshima's teasing of the All Tokyo Model Show. The All Tokyo Model Show, big show coming up at the end of September. There's usually 3 big shows a year. There's one run right after the first of the year. There's one that in May, and then there's one in September. These are when you see your big new tool stuff come out that is completely unexpected. I guess a lot of us will know what's coming. At least I'll know what's coming because I tend to just read every blog and every manufacturer's website and everything because that makes these videos better for you guys because then you don't have to do all that research. But, the wow factor for people who aren't really into things, that's usually when you see it. One last thing. Mobius, speaking of them, has come out on their Facebook page and said there will be no more release information until 2015. Now, that's granted only like 4.5 months from now, but hopefully they can sort of clean up what's on their plate right now. They have somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8 to 10 releases scheduled for the rest of the year, and it'll be interesting to see if anything other than like the smooth side trailer, the Model King 69 Ford pickup truck, and maybe the 54 Hudsons actually make it out before Christmas. Because they are just in a tooling conundrum in China. They moved their tooling from one workshop to another, and several of those new tools at the new workshop are ahead of the old tools at the old workshop. I don't know if the old tools are getting moved too. It's just a giant mess. They're working on kits that should have been out last year that still aren't out this year, and so I understand why they're sort of like saying, that's it, we're done. We're not going to talk about anything else we're doing until maybe those things are a little further down the line, and we unclog the pipeline of the stuff that we're expecting right now. So, like I said, guys, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and until then, enjoy your vacations if you're taking one, and we'll see you on the other side.